me show you a picture of 17-year-old Ratiah Parsons from Canada. She was allegedly gang raped by 4 of her classmates. After an 18-month struggle with the fallout, she killed herself last week. And her mom says that it's a growing trend called slut shaming that played a major role in her death.
One girl that was her friend put on her status, sluts need to leave this school anyway. Just bullying, and boys that she didn't know send her messages, you want to have fun? You did it with my friends, why don't we get together? It just was nonstop.
Well, in the Steubenville and Connecticut football rape cases, the victims were also bullied relentlessly. It's not just cases of rape. Slut shaming is affecting so many girls across the country. We actually Googled it, and slut shaming is defined as the act of making a woman feel guilty or inferior for engaging in certain sexual behaviors that violate traditional gender expectations. Now, this is not new, but what makes this so worse, guys, is social media. I mean, these pictures, this video, it goes viral. Everyone brings a phone to a party nowadays.
Well, and it's the rape, Kira, that is so disturbing, that these young boys, because I'm raising 2 boys. And I mean, it hit me the other day. I thought, I'm raising men. I'm not raising 2 little boys. And I don't understand why these guys are, I mean, that didn't happen when we were growing up like that. I mean, people didn't get gang raped when we were in high school and when we were in school. And these girls are having to face this, and the pornography, and it's, girls are experiencing it themselves too. They're putting themselves out there and exposing themselves, and probably in ways they shouldn't. But they don't deserve to be bullied or to kill themselves, to die for it.
Let's get the male perspective, Vinny. I mean, raising boys, we talk about our girls. You know, I mean, we got to talk about the boys in this situation too, that they have no problem doing this.
Yeah, well, what has changed also is the social media aspect of it. So, you know, the bullying that used to take place face-to-face now is taking place, you know, online, on cell phones, everywhere else. So the question is, how do you stop that? How do you prevent that? Well, first, every parent should have control over their child's cell phone. So I think there's an obligation on the parents of the bullies to know what their children are doing on those cell phones. Now, how do you get the attention of these parents? If you're a victim, you know, I'm a lawyer, so I always look at it from that perspective. How do I make some noise, put people on notice that things are going to happen? You know, if my child's being bullied, I'm going to put the school on notice, right? That you have created an unsafe environment for my child. And the way to do that, get it in writing.
Document everything.
You put something in writing, and it's whether it's the principal, CC the superintendent, CC the Board of Education, you will get attention. But you've got to put these things in writing. Just a little meeting with the school counselor is not going to get it done.
You know, I'll tell you someone who's getting a lot of attention drawn to this subject, Liz Securo. Liz was actually raped in college some 20 years ago, and she now tours the country talking to high school and college students. Liz dialed in, is on the phone with us now. Liz, you know, what exactly do you say to these girls and these boys about their behavior and the internet when you speak to them?
Well, I think, and thank you for having me.
It's a
so I
pleasure.
couldn't be there via Skype. I think because I'm coming at it from the side of a victim and a survivor, and a parent, and an expert, it's sort of a cornucopia for me. And I sort of blanch at the word behavior, in that I think what happened to me is exactly what is happening to these young women and men without the social media. I think that had my case been when it had been, and it had been present day, it would have been just as disastrous. To this day, even though I go around and I speak with these people, I get nasty tweets and emails and all sorts of things. And I'm in my 40s, you know, and still talking about, why were you at that party? Why were you drinking? And it's like, again, it's this whole victim blaming, slut shaming thing. And so I don't know how to answer the question, whether as a parent or as a victim. I think that it's just got to stop. I mean, I mean, certainly.
But the internet is definitely a problem. I mean, in high school, boys called girls doorknobs. And if you made your way around, everybody had a turn. You got a doorknob, you know, by your locker, by your car. Okay? Now it's the internet.
Yeah,
it's pictures.
But Kara, do we train and teach? I like what she said about training and teaching these girls and even our boys too about what being a victim is before they become a victim. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need to call it out before it happens so that you know the ramifications, or you know your consequences if you participate in this kind of behavior. You know, define what a victim is before you become one.
Not
Does
only
that make sense?
but I mean, when you talk about social media, I think it's to the point of Vinny, it's not like you're face to face with them, so you don't have that immediate
that's just
consequence.
such a coward way
and
to
that's why
bully.
we need, I don't know
Yeah.
how to teach our kids that what you put in writing means just as much as what you might do. If you wouldn't say that to somebody's face, if you wouldn't go up and ask them that question, don't put it in writing, because you know I was looking
But I
at
see what you're
It's called
saying, like,
punishment. That's what you
right.
all right, for the girl who's getting drunk, you're saying she needs to understand what could happen if you
Hello.
get drunk,
Right.
and people could take advantage of you.
Right.
For the boys, when you see a girl that's drunk, you don't rape her. You know, you call her mother, you give her a glass of water, you drive
That's
her
a soul
home. Is that what
thing.
you're saying?
Yeah, that's a soul thing. That's a heart thing. Our consciousness and our goodness have been seared because we have seen so much on social media, Vinny, like you said earlier, that people are not taking responsibility as humanitarians, as people.
I need to interrupt here, too, because I think so many people are all worked up in a lather and teaching us about how girls shouldn't be getting drunk. I guarantee you, in this case in Canada and in Steubenville, that the alleged rapists were also intoxicated. I don't know why the blame is always put on the victim.
Point well made. Well, take a look at this. Meet Jessie Logan, 18 years old. She was teased, harassed, called a slut. She tried to get help from high school guidance counselors, police, but the shaming never stopped. So Jessica Logan came home and she killed herself. Hope Witzel, 13, signed a no-harm contract at school. She actually agreed on paper that if she wanted to harm herself, she would tell someone. Well, that contract ended up in the trash, and Hope ended up dying by suicide. Then Felicia Garcia, 15. Her school administrators also knew of this sex bullying that was going up, even set up a mediation session with a counselor and one of the 17-year-old boys that was involved. Well, that didn't work. Felicia, in front of all her classmates, jumped in front of a train. Yeah, I hear the gasping in the studio. Vinny, you know, these pictures and video that are posted, why aren't those people held accountable for that?
Well, the law, it always takes us a while for the law to catch up with the technology. And there are new cyber bullying laws that are being set up in different jurisdictions, but it's taking too much time.
Why? What's the holdup?
It just takes time. And the technology is always ahead of it, and the law is always behind, and you're trying to catch up. You know, there's a balance between freedom of speech versus what is harassing, what is stalking, and they've had to make adjustments. Here's what I would advise, though, and you saw in these cases that you just described that the children were trying to do something, the school was trying to do something. Well, you've got to jump way out. If you're a parent, you've got to jump way out. Put them on notice that they are liable, that they are not creating a safe environment for my child. You do that right away and say it's not acceptable. It is unacceptable. And, I mean, it seemed they were trying to do something.
Parents need to be way more
proactive.
Yeah.
Aggressive and proactive,
Right.
and put people on notice that they are liable, that they are not doing what they're supposed to do to keep my child safe. That will wake them up and say, oh, my goodness, we are going to end up being liable.
Gets the law. I mean, the louder you bark, the more you're going to pay attention. And I think as a parent, I mean, that's what do you do in the meantime? Because these girls are killing themselves.
But I think part of the problem is how do you break that cycle of everybody how do you break that line of everybody that's following you? You know, I was watching something on NPR, and she said somebody, you know, on Facebook, a boyfriend in 9th grade posted something. It was on Facebook, Twitter, a bunch of other things. In 43 minutes, had 443 likes and 261 comments. How do you break that once it's out?
If you come across anyone expressing that they may hurt themselves, want to hurt themselves on any of your social media sites, here's how you can help them get help. Urge them to call this lifeline. The number is right there on the screen, 1-800-273-TALK.